In St. John with producer Jake Gutierrez. Thank you so much for joining us. Today on the show, we'll talk to former Chiefs offensive lineman Joe Valerio at 6:30. Joe will be a regular guest on the show. He's already been on once this football season, but he's what Jake calls a floater. Going to bounce around. Joe has a daunting travel schedule, so he'll get in where he fits in, but we'll talk to Joe Valerio hopefully at least once a week. But I like it. It keeps it fresh. A little surprise for you. If you're a regular early Thursday listener, a little Joe Valerio in my coffee at 6:30 a.m. That didn't sound right. I'm sorry. You know what I mean. Don't take it there. Come on now. Buster Olney, just after 7 o'clock, our baseball insider from ESPN will join us. Then we'll talk to our NFL insider, Adam Kaplan, at 7:30. Then the boys will be in studio, Gary Dieter and Anthony Sherman. Sure, we'll talk about the Royals and Yankees series, but we got lots of football to talk about as well. And then Jesse Newell, who covers the Chiefs for the Kansas City Star, will be in studio in the 9 o'clock hour. So we'll start with the Royals. They lost last night to the Yankees 4-3 in 11 innings. Not the gut punch that I felt when the Royals blew that big lead in Cleveland. When I was screaming in my car in the Quick Trip parking lot and police were at least interested in me and looking over at me to see what all the ruckus was about. I'm just watching the game. Disappointing. We were watching the game, and even Susan had heard me ranting and raving, and had come in there and said, I'll watch the last couple of innings with you. I said, okay, well, sit down. So what's this all mean? What's riding on this? Because, she knows I'm going to tell her anyway and start explaining stuff. Because I know what she's going to ask. She doesn't watch all the games, Why is there a runner on second base? All right, well, do you really want to hear this or not? She watches enough baseball, but still, you know what I mean? She's not a hardcore baseball fan. Why is that clock ticking down? Okay, hold on. Just wait a minute. Here we go. Anyway, we're watching the game. I'm watching the game. And I'm loving it because it's Royals, Yankees, playoff implications, all the reasons we talked about. Cole Reagans is dealing. I got so pissed off when Soto hit the home run. Showboat. I don't like Soto anymore. I liked him until about, 10 hours ago. I don't like him anymore. That home run. It's all fun and games when he's doing it for other teams and whatever else. I don't know. That just really irritated me. Hey, Cole Reagans pitched well enough. That was 6 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts. The home run, 100 pitches in 6 innings in Yankee Stadium. It was what Seth Lugo did? No, but Seth Lugo was spectacular. Was that good enough from Cole Reagans? Yep. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That gave the Yankees the lead, but right away, Royals tied it up. But I go back to the first inning. The first time my wife popped her head into my office after I was ranting and raving. The Royals wasted a golden opportunity, and I can't say this is going to come back to haunt them. If they don't, they better score here. This is going to come back to haunt them. And if you don't remember what happened, after Pham had flied out, Bobby Wood Jr. doubled. Then all of a sudden, Luis Gil could not throw a strike when he threw 9 straight balls. And he walked Salvi and walked MJ Melendez. And you're thinking, oh, okay. There's one out. Bases are loaded. And dude cannot throw a strike right now. He's throwing 9 straight balls. This could be, you start to get greedy, right? Okay. Put up 2 or 3 runs here with Reagans on the mound. This could be fantastic. And Fermin, who just had a miserable night at the plate, struck out, and then Massey grounded out. Nothing. And so, hey, sorry, Fermin's been a fine catcher and a above average, better than expected hitter most of the season. But this is, I don't care what's going on. You're talking about big games, big moments, got to come through now. And when the bases are loaded with less than 2 outs, you got to put the ball in play. You got to put the ball in play. Strikes out, Massey grounds out. They had the bases loaded with 1 out, didn't score. They end up, and that was just a sign of things to come, they end up going 0 for 11 with runners in scoring position. It's disgusting. That killed them. Too many golden opportunities wasted. And so we get into, and look, I hate complaining about the rule after the Royals lose. But man, I just don't like, I just don't like how the game changes after 9 innings. It's a really good game with playoff atmosphere, and it's just like, hey, there's a runner at second now to start the 10th. Like, old man yelling at a cloud, whatever.
But we've been consistent. You've said it since they changed it.
Oh yeah, I've never liked it.
I'm on that side too. You're drastically changing the game. And I get it. Like, I think we both had this discussion. Start it in the 12th or 13th, but
whatever,
to drastically think about it, that's a postseason game. I mean, that's
what I mean.
Stupid.
It kind of was. I mean, this is
right.
a big game.
I mean,
like I didn't like it in July of when they're on the way to losing 100 games.
Correct.
It's dumb.
Yeah.
And then just watch it last night. I go, this is stupid.
Right. I mean, I said the same thing. Even when it benefited the Royals, obviously they benefited from it first. You know, they got the first run.
It's like look, and sometimes it's good to have someone there to reset your feelings. And she looks at it, she goes, now why do they start with a runner on second base to start the inning? She goes, that seems weird. I said, it is weird. And I said, because they don't want to play 15-inning games. Games are too long. Games take too long. The pitch clock, everything you're asking about is an effort to shorten games. And she said, well, does it really happen that often? Like, well, not to me, not really. Whatever. And here we go. We got to watch the game, Sue. We got to watch the game. You got to get me on a tangent here. Let's watch the game. But it's just like stupid. And look, doesn't matter. The Royals could barely scratch a run across in the 10th. Thank goodness for Blanco, because he created the run on his own. He stole third, and then he scored on a wild pitch. Because the Royals just had awful at bat after awful at bat in the 10th and the 11th. You go back to the 9th, after Tommy Pham walked with 2 outs, and then they bring Jake Cousins into pitch, and the broadcast crew was even talking about it. Like, man, Bobby Wood Jr. is not getting good swings against Cousins. He had 2 strikes on the ropes. I felt like he's getting ready to strike out, and I don't know. I don't really feel that way too often about Bobby Wood Jr. And then Tommy Pham got picked off. Like, oh, good God. And I'm thinking, you know what? Okay. You give Bobby a fresh at bat with a runner on second in the 10th inning. I mean, okay, just get through the 9th, and the pickoff didn't hurt you. And Urseg, stud, got through the 9th. And so you get to the 10th, and how often do you see that? It's like Bobby Witt Jr. gets another at bat against the same guy, like back to back. Right here comes Bobby Witt Jr. again against Cousins, and he looked bad again. I mean, cause the hell is Cousins, Jake Cousins, right? In that next at bat, and so he basically had like one gigantic at bat or two. You know what I mean? And I felt like if Tommy Pham didn't get picked off, Bobby was going to strike out in that. And I always think he's going to come through now. I mean, you expect him to come through. And then he just looked, I don't know, just looked like he couldn't get a good read on Cousins. And look, give credit to Cousins, obviously. But then he strikes Bobby Witt Jr. out swinging. But thankfully, Blanco stole third. And then he scored on Cousins' wild pitch. But then after that, Salvi walks, and then Melendez flies out, and then Fermin comes up. I mean, did you see the pitch he took for strike three? Did you?
Oh yeah.
And I was like, what? He had a bad night at the plate. From the strikeout with one out and bases loaded in the first inning to that, just like, all right, okay. I mean, you just, I don't. Why aren't you swinging at that? I don't know. Whatever. He's been good, but I was irritated.
Yeah, I mean, you got to protect the plate there.
Super irritated. Those two at bats right there.
Yeah.
You know, he just let strike three go right past him in that at bat in the first inning. I was still pissed off about the first inning. Whatever.
Well, and that's also like where the Vinny injury comes into play. You know, who knows if
swing the bat.
I know.
You know, swing the bat. Just swing the bat.
But his role was
right.
He's being exposed a little bit. He's having an everyday.
Yeah. I wish he would have exposed the bat to the ball.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
And so then, bottom of the 10th, I hate this. I hate to be like overly critical, but this is what we do. Like with playoff baseball, this is what we do with these games. It means so much. You pick apart every little piece of what happened. Bubic comes in. I thought Bubic pitched really well. Again, stupid rule. There's a runner at second base magically. How close did Bubic come to catching that bunt? I mean, it almost looked like he grazed the glove.
And what a play that would have been.
Oh yeah, I know. Hey,
what a play that would have been.
Great play, great effort.
They still got the out, but the runner advanced.
Oh yeah, but how big would that? I mean, that would have been everything. That might have won the game. Okay,
very possibly.
Great play, great effort.
Very possibly.
But you always hear the baseball's a game of inches. You go back and look at that play, and it was a tremendous effort by Bubic. If he catches that bunt in the air,
web gym,
maybe the Royals win the game. I think the Royals probably win the game. But my point is, what an effort! But it's
I thought he had it.
Yeah. But then the replay, look, oh my God, that'll make you sick, right? That gets the runner over to third. Mm-hmm. And so then Wells hits a sacrifice fly to left to Melendez. And again, it's nitpicking, or it sounds like I'm just criticizing everyone, but
it was shallow enough.
What an awful throw.
Yeah, it was shallow enough to get him.
And look, and the broadcast crew is going to protect him. It was Jeremy Guthrie, right? But they're even like,
yeah. Unfortunate, the ball got there at the same time as the runner.
Right. No, it's like
on the fifth bounce.
I said, like in the perfect world, you would have got. I think Ryan said, in a perfect world, he would have got some more air under that one. I'm like, yeah, you think?
Yeah.
You think he wasn't looking for a chopper to home?
A 5 bouncer.
Yeah. And I think Guthrie even said even on one hop, It was a bad throw. It was a terrible because when it had, I go, okay.
Yeah, it was shallow enough.
Oh.
And, got there at the same time as the runner because it hit the runner, and it's like, well, got there at the same time because it bounced 5 times before it got to the plate.
Can you imagine if they would have won like that?
Oh, I thought they were.
So that's what I'm asking you. Because when I said that, when I saw that, I thought, that throw sucked. But then I thought, could he have really got him out?
Yes.
Am I being too critical?
No, I think he could have. I really do.
You're not making me feel better now.
I know. I had the same thought.
But like you threw a grounder to home.
Yeah, it was. I mean,
but then
the pitcher thought about cutting it off, literally, because it bounced it like close to third base.
But then I'm listening to Ryan and Guthrie and both of you. Would have loved to have got some more air under that one, and or at least a 1-hopper. Yeah, not a 5-hopper. So that's in their way. That's as critical as they're going to be. They go, okay, so they get it.
It's their job.
And then and then look, Blanco makes a good catch. Bubic did his job. Bubic did well enough. If things would have gone the right way, to win the game, he almost caught that bunt. It's close. If Melendez makes a better throw, then maybe we're talking about what a great win that was. But then, if you want to talk about frustrating, the top of the 11th. And I know you got Fermin at second. Salvi's already out of the game, so you got no speed at second base. Massey flies out, and Massey's been good. He had a home run, but didn't do your job. Didn't get the runner over. It's baseball, man. That's what you got to do. And then I feel like DeYoung and Garcia could have had 8 strikes each, and they weren't touching the ball. Because when did Luke Weaver become unhittable?
Last night, apparently.
Where did that come from? Then, of course, bottom of the 11th, you saw what happened. Bobby makes a great play, the infield end. But Birdie's too fast. He's a hell of a base stealer. I used to have him on my rotisserie team, so he played with the Marlins because that's.
I mean, Whit made a great play.
Right,
I mean,
he's their Blanco role. You weren't going to get him.
No, I mean, no. Great play. Most infielders don't even get that ball in their glove, but wild throw and impossible play.
So, Royals lose 4-3 in 11. But I mean, I was disappointed, but after watching that game, I really felt like there's not a lot that separates these two teams.
That's the takeaway, right? They're going toe to toe with maybe the best team in the American League.
Games that the Yankees need to win because they're trying to win their division.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks.
They are in a life and death struggle with Baltimore, and the Royals went into Yankee Stadium and went toe to toe with the Yankees. They lost 2 out of 3, but they very easily could have won 2 out of 3.
Right.
And I did not remember when the Yankees came to Kansas City in the first couple of games, like, oh my God, the Yankees were way, way better.
Unwatchable.
This is ugly.
Yeah.
And then Marsh had his great game, and the Royals had the comeback win, and they won. This series, even though it got away from them in that first game, you thought, if they play in the playoffs, the Royals can win.
That's the takeaway. Because when they came into town, like high hopes, like, okay, it's the Yankees, Royals. The Royals are hot. They're great start to the season. And they came in, it's like, wow, this team's a different level. The Royals are not there yet. And last night, this whole series, you never had that feeling. You never had that feeling, well, the Royals are – it's great that they're a wild card and it's great that they're going to playoffs, but if they saw the Yankees in the playoffs, it'd probably be done.
If you give me a 3-game series against the Yankees in New York and my starting pitchers are Lugo, Reagans, and Waka, I'll take it. Let's go.
I mean, that's what they just proved. I mean, it took 11 innings for the Yankees to beat the Royals for the series win last night, and it's like, let's go. If that's where they end up, let's go. It just sucks that every other team and the Royals needed to lose last night won, but
yeah, it was
Guardians
it was
won.
disappointing. It was disappointing.
Red Sox won. Tigers won. Seattle won. But hey, they're in it. 15 games left.
And now at least the schedule lightens up a little bit.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay. And right now, as we sit, they have a game and a half lead over Minnesota for the second wild card spot, and they still have a 4.5 game lead, a 4.5 game cushion for a playoff spot. And now they get a day off, and the final stretch is here. 3 games at Pittsburgh, a huge series starting Monday out of Kauffman Stadium, 3 games against Detroit. Detroit's in it. They got a shot. But then 3 at home against the Giants, 3 at Washington, and they finish off with 3 at the Atlanta Braves. They'll be the better team in those games, most of those games. And so, bring it home. And I'm to the point, like, yes, all we care about is them making the playoffs, but they can beat anyone. Okay, could they go out and lose in the wild card round? Sure, it's baseball. But I think we saw from what we saw these last 3 games in Yankee Stadium, they can handle the big stage. They can handle one of, if not the best teams in the American League. They can go toe-to-toe with them. And in the playoffs, they got a chance to beat anybody. Especially if you got, I mean, hell, if it's Waka in this series, right? If Waka would have pitched instead of Singer, maybe they win 2 out of 3.
Look,
okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't the Rangers and the Diamondbacks both wild card teams last year in the World Series?
Yeah, nobody expected the Diamondbacks.
Right. I mean, so that's just, they can do it.
Well, let's just get there first.
Right.
But that was, I was impressed with the way they played in the series for the most part, except for the James MacArthur and Chris Stratton experience.
Gasoline cans.
Right. But that was, hey, man. Meaningful baseball in September. They come up a little bit short. Frustrating game, but they fought their asses off. They lose 4-3 in 11 innings, lose a series 2 games out of 3. Friday, they're back at it at Pittsburgh against the Pirates. It'd be weird if they were playing somebody else besides the Pirates, but just thought I'd add that note for you. We'll take a break back after this on WHB.
I feel like in a way it does, but I feel like just me as a person, I feel like once I have a good game, after the game, all I seen was nothing but red. Everybody was pushing everybody out, and I just had an easy way to the end zone.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be a spark. It shows that what he can do. Obviously, it showed his speed. It showed how he's able to run routes and find open spaces. But it just kind of gives him that confidence. I think he already had it anyways, but to show that he can do it on Sundays or whatever day of the week that we're playing, and it's just kind of a start for him. I mean, we want him to keep building. We want to get him more and more involved in the offense. But a great start.
Welcome back to New Day with SSJ on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Let's check in with our friend, former Chiefs offensive lineman Joe Valerio, and also touchdown machine Joe Valerio. Joe, before we get into our conversation, tell people about the podcast that you co-host about the Chiefs.
Yeah, no, thanks, Stephen. Yeah, great to be with you again, as always. Yeah, we do a podcast. I do it with my podcast partner, Jeff Fedotin, who's a writer for Forbes Magazine. He's also a book editor. It's on the Believe Network, BLEAV, and we just recently had Rob Riggle on a couple weeks ago, right before he banged the drum for the opener, which was awesome. We didn't let that escape on our podcast, even though we kind of knew it. But yeah, it's a really fun time. It's a great half-hour listen. We never go too long. We don't beat things up too much. We give people just enough, and it's a lot of fun to stay in touch with the Kansas City community and NFL. We talk a lot of NFL news too. So thanks for letting me promote that. Hey, Stephen, I'm sitting here listening to Bad Medicine by Bon Jovi. Did you hear that he saved somebody's life in Nashville? They were filming a video, and it was a possible suicide. And he talked the person off of the ledge of a bridge and gave him a hug and saved their life. And that happened this week. So I'm listening to that song. I'm like, unbelievable, right?
Shout out to John Bon Jovi.
Yeah, really, really cool. So I thought I'd just share that little bit of good news for the morning. But man, better news, too, is this great news is this Chiefs season that's upon us. I mean, God, I'm looking at the depth chart right now, and I'm looking at this thing up and down. I'm like, wow. And I look at the whole NFL roster, and I think, my gosh, this team, if there was ever a team that was going to three-peat, I don't want to get Pollyanna optimistic. I think this is the team that's going to do it or that can do it.
We heard at the top of the segment Xavier Worthy talking about his first touchdown in the NFL. And look, the highlight there was his speed. The oohs and ahs at Arrowhead Stadium and even in the press box, it was funny to hear that because it popped off the field, his speed. But that thing was set up. The blocking was beautiful. I know as an offensive lineman, you had to appreciate how beautifully that play was executed.
Yeah, it was incredible, right? This line is, we know, right? Of course, we know. I always harken back to the law firm of Zott, Shields, and Grunhard, right? And it's so funny the parallels between this interior group of Joe Thuney, Creed Humphrey, and Trey Smith. I mean, it's so similar in just in their styles. Like Joe Thuney is just a technician. He plays left guard like Dave Zott does. Dave was the ultimate technician. He had that wrestler's body. You got Creed Humphrey, he's like mini Grunny, right? Like just a beast out there and just tough as nails, gets it done, plays with his whole entire huge heart. And then you got Trey Smith, right? Who's just this fantastic athlete at right guard. He looks so much like Will Smith out there, or Will Smith. I don't know how that popped. Like Trey Smith. He looks like Will Shields out there, and it's just like, God, it's so funny to see the parallels between this law firm and that law firm of Thuney, Humphrey, and Smith, Zott, Grunhard, and Shields. It's pretty. They're technicians, and Andy Heck has done an unbelievable job of, if you watch and you really get into the sort of the technique and the scheme that Andy Heck has, implemented along, with Matt Nagy and Andy Reid. Like it's pieces of the puzzle that are all fitting together. And now that we've got the tackle things solved, and Juwan's really coming into his own. Limiting. He's still jumping a little bit. He's still a little bit ahead of the snap count, in which, we talked about this on our podcast, Jeff and I. It's hard. When you're a tackle out there on an island and you're going against these rush ends that are just beasts. They're tall. They got long arms. They run 4.5 40s. They might weigh 270, 280 plus pounds. They're bench pressing the world. It's like, of course you're going to jump a little bit, right? You're protecting Patrick Mahomes. So once they get that settled, I think Kingsley settled in. Yeah, I know that was I went off on a tangent about the way that play was set up for Xavier Worthy, but that's where it starts, right? It starts with scheme, and it starts with technique, and it starts with the athletic ability and the size and speed of the guys up front, and Andy the two Andys, Andy Reid and Andy Heck, and along with Matt Nagy, have put together just a fantastic group up front that is a pleasure to watch. I encourage listeners to watch the line, watch what they do, how they communicate. It's really fun when you dig into it.
Joe Valerio is our guest. Joe, Cincinnati's coming to town on Sunday, and when I wrote an article for our preview magazine here, and I basically ranked all of the regular season games as far as how attractive they are to me and how much I wanted to see them. And I had this as my number one game because the Bengals-Chiefs rivalry. They've played twice in the AFC Championship game. The regular season games have been terrific, and there's just a real dislike between the two football teams. But Cincinnati looked terrible against New England in Week 1. But they've looked bad before. What's the record in their first two games, Jake? Zach Taylor, would you say he's one as a head coach?
1-10 now.
So that's
Joe Burrow's 1-8.
It's bizarre. That's what they do is they look bad the first couple of weeks, and then they end up being really good. But Joe Mixon isn't there anymore. Tyler Boyd's not there anymore. T. Higgins is questionable with a hamstring injury. Jamar Chase had the holdout, and that's been an issue. And now there's and who knows how much you buy into it or whether we should buy into it. Is Joe Burrow the same after what happened to his wrist? There are some more question marks, and it is some different personnel on the offense. And so I'll ask you, how much did you buy into their poor performance in Week 1? And do you expect this to be similar to the other games we've seen between the Chiefs and the Bengals?
Those are great questions to unpack, Stephen. And I'm going to start with this. Number one, it's going to be a good game just because the emotion level is going to be so high, right? This is an emotional game for both teams, whether the Cincinnati Bengals have it all together or not. There is going to be a level of intensity that they're going to bring to Arrowhead Stadium, and they're going to be following the lead of their guy, Joe Burrow, right? And his whatever this distaste is between these two organizations, he's going to bring the swagger, right? He's going to have these guys fired up. That's the emotional part of football, right? That can only carry you so far. These two teams are, I don't want to say 180 degrees, but darn close different if you look at the way that they put their rosters together this offseason and the way they tried to keep people that meant something to them and to keep the chemistry going that they had, right? Jamar Chase, is holding out. Chiefs didn't really have any of that shenanigans to deal with this year. The biggest controversy that the Chiefs had this year was, trying to figure out whether it was going to be Wanye or Kingsley at right tackle, right? Really, seriously, that was the biggest question mark going into the season for them. Now, there's some question marks of youth and things like that with Xavier Worthy. Was he going to be, no pun intended, worthy of that first-round pick? And was his speed, going to overcompensate for, whatever he may have been lacking? And obviously, those are things that everybody goes into. But, this Chiefs team should go into this game with a lot of confidence, knowing they are a solid unit that is full of chemistry. That's what's going to win the day out for this team. That's what showed in that first game. Jeff and I talk about this on the podcast all the time. We think we coined it. I don't know. Tony Romo will probably take credit for it, but we have said for many, many years now that September is the new preseason. It is not the days of Marty Schottenheimer where we would go 13 days in a row of full pad two-a-days with a special teams practice at night, okay? Where when you were playing, you were thanking the Lord when that first game showed up because you knew that at least you were going to have an easy practice on Fridays. Like, it was a totally different environment than it is today where you can only practice once, a day. You can only hit, I think, 2 days in a row. There's so many days you can have contact.
But it seems like Andy Reid's ahead of other teams because their training camp is harder. He plays his starters in the preseason games, unlike a lot of teams. And it seems like maybe that's why they're so successful. They have been so successful early on in the season, and they look like they're in midseason form because he does still work, even though it'll never be like it was, like you said, 2-a-days. Hell, I used to go up there to River Falls, Wisconsin, and cover those, and that was hard just to cover, and I was just out there standing, watching you guys. But I mean, there's something to that. Andy does work these guys hard. They aren't up there jacking around. He does play his starters in the preseason, so that's why it seems like they're ahead of the game when the season starts.
Nailed it. You nailed it. 100% behind you on that, Steven, and that's why this team looked the way they did against the vaunted Baltimore Ravens. When I look at the up and down the NFL schedule and the standings, however you gauge where these teams are at a particular point in time, it's the Bills, the Bengals, the Chiefs, and the Ravens, right? I don't want to dismiss any other fans or people that follow other teams, but I'm sorry, I don't see anybody else in the AFC other than those four teams even coming close. I mean, I just think the Steelers are going to have their ups and downs. The Browns didn't look very good. The Texans, I think C.J. Stroud's going to be a great quarterback. They're kind of the class of the AFC South. Like, it's going to come down to that. And to watch what the Chiefs did against the Ravens, who've only let up, I think in the last season, two games where teams have scored more than 26 points. Don't quote me on that stat, but they put 27 up on the first game on a Thursday. Like, come on. I mean, that shows you that this team is getting it done. Did you think that Derrick Henry was going to be outrushed by Lamar Jackson? I didn't think so. I thought that the Ravens were going to rely heavily on Derrick Henry, and the Chiefs shut him down. He couldn't get it going. He couldn't get the motor going, so they had to go back to Lamar, and it was a great game. So I said it early. I think it may have been a bold prediction. I think it was up there. There are people that are looking at other teams that are going to challenge the Chiefs. I feel last Thursday we watched a preview of what could be, depending on how the playoffs shake out and who gets seeded where, which could ultimately be the AFC Championship. Whether those two teams play in the first round divisional game or whether they in a wild card game or whether they play in the AFC Championship, that game will be the AFC Championship, regardless of where they play. And I think that's what we're looking at. And for the Chiefs to do that on opening day, it speaks volumes to exactly what you said, Stephen. This team is prepared. They're ready to go. And I'm going to go out on a limb. I always admit when I could be wrong. I think the Chiefs are going to put a whooping on the Bengals. I really do. I think I predicted on our podcast, I predicted 31-14. I think they're and I think believe it or not, I think one of those 14 points or one of those touchdowns that the Bengals get will just come at the end. Where they're just kind of like make a play down the field to try to stay in the game and create a little bit of an honorable situation and not make it a 31-7 game. That's how I feel about it. As much as emotion is going to play in this game, I don't think the Bengals are going to come into this game ready for what the Chiefs have in store.
And T. Higgins didn't practice. It's up in the air whether he plays, but most people around the team feel like he's not going to play. But that could change. But didn't practice yesterday. Now for the Chiefs, Hollywood Brown didn't practice either. Would you play Hollywood Brown in this game, or would you take a cautious approach and say, you know what, we can get through this game without him? It might. He still hasn't practiced. With him, he didn't practice, but Andy Reid said he's getting closer. Would you just wait one more week and then bring him back week 3 just to err on the side of caution because you want him healthy as can be and ready to play hopefully the rest of the season?
Yeah, I would go that route, Stephen, to be honest, based on what we saw against the Ravens with the group that they have, this deep wide. That's why you have a deep wide receiver room. It's a long season, right? Should you believe that you're going to go 17-0? Absolutely. And you got to do that one game at a time, right? Because as Marty Schottenheimer used to say, the most important game is the next game, and I get that. But let's really be honest. Are the Chiefs going to be 17-0? Probably not. As much as we all as fans would love them to be, and they're going to be gearing up and practicing and preparing that way, right? Because the only way you get to 2-0 is by being 1-0, and the only way you get to be 3-0 is by being 2-0. So I get that. I would err on the side of caution, and maybe I'd dress them, right? Go through the pregame, go through the warm-ups, get into game mode, right? Like get to the stadium with everybody else, get your treatment, get tape, put your pads on, go out for warm-ups when they call the specialists, and go out with your wide receiver buddies and get warmed up. I would do it as if I were starting. I would put him out there, get ready for the game as if he were starting, but then not play him, and just maybe have him there if things get a little hairy and somebody gets dinged up and they want to go 4 wide receivers on some play. If they need a big play or something, throw them in there. But I would err on the side of caution. Given the depth that they have, I don't think it's worth it. I would just see how it goes. That's what I know. It's an easy answer, maybe a little bit of a softball answer, but that's what I would do.
All right, your prediction, 31-14 Chiefs. I'd love to see it. I'll be out there at Arrowhead covering the game. That would be a happy locker room to get interviews in after the game. So tell people again where they can listen to the podcast before we let you go.
Yeah, Stephen, it's any podcast medium that you need, the Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, all the podcasts. We have Believe is on YouTube as well. It's BLEAV, Believe in Chiefs, and do some stuff on Twitter at Joe Valerio 73. So if you need to get to a link or see little video clips that we do, you can follow along on Twitter and X at Joe Valerio 73. So lots of fun, and hope everybody can join in. It's a short to the point one. We don't beat it up.
No messing around. All right, he gets right to it.
Yeah.
Joe Valerio, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you very soon.
Thanks, Stephen. Take care, buddy.
That's former Chiefs offensive lineman Joe Valerio, Buster Olney, Adam Kaplan, Gary Dieter, Anthony Sherman, Jesse Newell, all between now and 10 o'clock right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.